Yeah, yeah. Well, and the other thing. Well, that's weird. I tried. Yeah.
Nobody else here yet. This is being recorded, yeah. And we're hoping to have some people join the Zoom.
We arrived.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. About the social justice meeting. You. Yes. Well, yeah.
Do I have one of those?
Next week. I thought that one was this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is give you congregation.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not what I'm.
All right, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, why don't you just you? I'm ready. We're on Zoom, but nobody else is here. We're recording it and we parts it, yeah. Is the mic live? All right. Good morning, everyone. You okay? No.
Bring it closer.
Okay. You need to.
There.
Yeah, better.
Better.
Okay. Lovely to see you all. Looks like we might have a full house on a sunny June morning, which is amazing. My name is Seth Brown, and I'll be serving as your worship associate today. We don't have anyone on Zoom, it looks like, but welcome to any online folks that find us somehow later.
Oh, they're in the waiting room. They're in the waiting room.
If this is your first time with us, with True, True is a community where questions are welcomed, honored, and each person's path, be it spiritual, secular, skeptical, mystical, or somewhere in between, is respected. If you're here for the first time, visitor, we'd love to get to know you. And if it feels good, now is a great time to share your name and perhaps where you're from, where you're visiting.
Hi, my name is Lael. I just moved here from North Carolina. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Leah. Did you say Asheville? Because, I mean, that's basically the Carbondale of the East Coast. Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Welcome, Leah. And I also want to just recognize our online community. Hopefully they have arrived. Hi, everyone. Good morning. We can all now take a collective breath together. Let your shoulders soften, your jaw unlock, release. Yourself a sway. Probably mostly for me. So the Soul Matters theme for this month is flourishing together. And today I'm honored to introduce our guest speaker, Reverend Florence Caplow, who most of you know, who will be speaking today on Flourishing Together. And also I want to offer my gratitude and excitement for our musician today, Patrick Fagan. We have a story for all ages today, and during the story, children and youth are welcome to come up and enjoy. Right here, we have a little mat out. And unfortunately, we don't have Thelma today, but I think you all know about that. So a word of thanks to all who make this space possible. Thank you, Ian and Mike, for setting up. Thank you, Andrew, for running the Zoom and all things technical this week for the first time. Flying solo without Mika and Paul, which is amazing. Great job. And Liza, we're not doing slides today. Nice, thanks.
And song leading.
And song leading. We are a volunteer-powered community, and we need your help. So if you have any interest in volunteering, come see Andrew at the end of the service. He can definitely get you signed up. The long, strange trip has begun. This is an announcement. Sorry, I should give a caveat. Although yes, it has. It's not too late to join Mike, Jan, Thelma, and Andrew as they explore UU history through watching a 6-part DVD series Wednesday evenings in the True Room at 7. And all are welcome to attend the True Board meeting, which is scheduled for June 23rd at 4 p.m. It's a hybrid meeting with a core of people in the True office and others joining by Zoom. And now, as we shift into our shared time of reflection, please take a moment to silence your phones and other devices. And we begin with a musical prelude, prelude number 1 in C by Bach. Thank you, Patrick. Our chalice lighting this morning comes with an invocation to not carry this life alone. And this chalice lighting is from Reverend Michelle Collins. We come from different homes, different paths, different worries and hopes. But we come to this same space for the same reason. To remember that we do not have to carry this life alone. Here we learn to flourish together by choosing again and again to show up for one another. Welcome. Let us worship together. Lighter has stage fright. Never works when people are watching. And now please remain seated for our opening. Actually, we don't need to remain seated. There's no music to read. Anyone who would like may also stand if you would like. There are hymnals at your chairs, and today we're singing our opening hymn number 360. Here we have gathered.
And we'll do just the first two verses. You're welcome to mess up the lyrics, because I probably will also.
I think this will run.
You can sit or stand.
Now I have to look for my reading glasses.
Oh, you just hobble along. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Step inside. Let all who see fear find a friendly one. All the sea. Down there. Oh. Here we are, God, all to celebrate. It's fall and gray. We are all ages, women, children, men. First sensations, sharing what we have. Sing now together, this our hope is of.
I like it.
Thank you.
She likes the third verse.
Oh, we're on that.
Good work.
It's good words.
I'll be back in
She
two.
kind of sweet out hymnals again, isn't it? It's kind of nice, the analog version. And now please join me in reciting our spoken unison covenant. Love is the spirit of this community, and service is its law. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And now please join in singing our sung aspiration, Spirit of Life. By the shade of justice, rules for me, God, we set me free. Spirit from God, come to me, come to me. All right, and now, Mira, do you want to come up and hear the story? We're gonna read a story. You guys are welcome to come sit up front if you would like. Today's story is called The Three Questions, and it's a translation of a fable by Leo Tolstoy. So once there was a king who believed that if he knew the answer to three questions, he would never fail at anything. The questions were these. When is the right time to act? Who are the people I most need to listen to? And what is the most important thing to do? He announced throughout his kingdom that he would reward anyone who could answer these questions. Learned people came from everywhere, and every one of them answered differently. When is the right time? Some said you must plan everything in advance, mark out the days and hours, and never stray from the schedule. Others said you can decide ahead of time. Others said you can't decide ahead of time. That makes sense. You have to stay watchful and act in the moment. Still others said no one can pay enough attention alone, and the king needs a council of advisors to tell him when to act. Who matters most? The answers scattered just as widely. Some said his counselors, some said the priests, some said the doctors, some said the soldiers. And what is the most important thing? One said science, another said war, another said worship. None of these answers agreed, and the king rewarded no one. Still hoping for truth, he decided to visit a hermit known for his wisdom. The hermit lived in the woods and saw only ordinary folk, so the king, dressed in plain clothes, left his guards behind and went on foot. He found the hermit digging outside his hut. He was a frail old man, breathing hard, struggling to dig in the earth. The king asked his three questions. The hermit listened, said nothing, then went back to digging. You're tired, the king said. Let me take the spade for a while. And he did. He dug one bed, then another, and the hours passed. The sun began to sink, and finally the king set down the spade and said, I came to you for answers. If you have none, tell me, and I'll go home. Look, said the hermit, someone is running toward us. A wounded man came stumbling out of the woods. He reached the king and collapsed. The king did not ask who he was or why. He opened the man's clothing, found the wound, and treated it. When the bleeding had stopped, he carried the man inside and laid him on the hermit's bed. The king was so worn out that he, too, lay down across the threshold and slept. When he woke in the morning, the wounded man was staring at him. Forgive me, the man whispered. I don't even know you, the king said. What is there to forgive? You don't know me, the man said, but I know you. You are the king, and I came here to kill you on your way home. But the day passed and you never came, so I left my hiding place. Your guards recognized me and wounded me. I would have bled to death, but you saved my life. If I live, I will serve you all my days, and so will my children. Forgive me. The king was glad to have made peace with an enemy so easily. He forgave the man, promised to return his land, and sent his own servants to care for him. Then the king went out one last time before going home to find the old man who was on his knees planting seeds in the beds they had dug together the day before. For the last time, the king said, will you answer my questions? You have already answered them yourself, the hermit said. How? Asked the king. Yesterday, if you had not taken pity on my age and dug these beds for me, you would have gone on your way. That man would have attacked you. So the most important time was the time you spent digging. I was the most important person, and caring for me was the most important thing. Then the wounded man ran to us. The most important time became the time you tended his wound and saved his life. So he became the most important person, and what you did for him was the most important thing. Remember this, there is only one important time, and that time is now. It is the only time over which we have any power. The most important person is the one you are with, and the most important thing is to do that person good, because that is why we are here. Thanks, Mira. We're not going to sing the children out today. Just one, and no Velma, and no Isle. But thank you, Mira. Now is the time in our gathering when we open space to honor those who are on our hearts, those who are facing challenges, those who are celebrating milestones, and those who are no longer with us, but whose presence we still feel. If you would like to speak the name of someone you are holding in love, we invite you to do so now. When we say their names aloud, we invite this community to share in our sorrow, our gratitude, and our hope. Please speak the names clearly so all may hear.
Alex, Paul and Mika.
And for all those names that remain unspoken, whose names live quietly in our hearts, we hold them too. And now, please turn off the lights and join Reverend Zenshin Florence Caplow in the spirit of meditation. We hope.
Here we go.
Good morning. Every time I speak in a congregation where there is some form of joys and sorrows, it reminds me of all that we carry when we come together on Sunday morning. All the names, all the stories, the sorrows of our lives and the joys. And sometimes this part of the service just goes past us, but it's good to stop and feel. Maybe you know the stories or the names associated with them, the names that you heard this morning. Maybe you don't, but either way, those sitting with you here are carrying burdens that we never can fully know. And when we walk down the street, there are people carrying burdens that we can never really know. All over this big round world. So we'll just take a minute to connect with all that those around us carry. And just close your eyes. And think of the names that you heard today, the voices that you recognize. And send love and care and tenderness out to all those who spoke. And to all those who didn't speak, but still have their own stories, their own burdens. Let your heart widen, and then widen out to people that you know in this community who are struggling in some way, facing challenges, physical, maybe emotional, family tragedy, family weddings coming up. It is June after all. Just connect with all of that, what you know, what you don't know. Sending a wave of love and care and tenderness out from this place into the Roaring Fork Valley. And just consider for a moment that all over the world, this is true. And our hearts are indeed big enough to care. So take one last breath in and out of your heart area, knowing that we are connected, one species, with so much in common. And you can open your eyes, or you can keep them closed, actually, for a time of silence followed by our musical meditation.
Beautiful, thank you.
Called up audible.
Yeah, that happens on our rugby.
Yeah, it's your prudence is limited. Noted order service. But after hearing, so, at the height of Paul McCarthy's popular, we
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of them make you feel. So our reading today is an excerpt from a podcast between Ezra Klein, who's a New York Times reporter and wonderfully philosophical, thoughtful man across a whole bunch of stories, topics, and Yuval Noah Harari, who wrote the book Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind. And he's an Israeli intellectual. And he was a medieval historian, but he's written expansively. And the conversation is this incredible, sprawling 2-hour, 15-minute talk about sort of everything. Suffering, technology, human development, connection, cooperation, all of these different themes. And I would thoroughly recommend it. But so I had the challenge of excerpting it into a manageable form here to match what Florence is talking about. And it starts off early in the conversation. Klein plays Harari a clip of Stephen Miller arguing that the world is governed by strength, by force, by power, quote, the iron laws of the world that have existed since the beginning of time, end quote. And Klein asks what Harari thinks when he hears that. And so here's Yuval Noah Harari. The whole of the history of philosophy and spirituality is an argument with exactly that point of view, that the only reality is power, the only reality is force. And from the viewpoint of a historian, it's clear that this is not the case. If the only human reality were brute force, we would still be living in tiny hunter-gatherer bands in the African savannah, because the whole of human history is about how you get more people to cooperate and to trust each other. And you cannot do that only with brute force. So Harari continues, and they get into politics and sort of nationalism and some other topics. And this is sort of a defense of liberalism that comes out. He says, so Harari offers a simple test of how much we actually share as a community, even with those we believe we are divided from. And Harari offers his own four questions. So this is what Harari says. The test of liberalism is basically 3 or 4 questions. Do you think people should have the right to choose their own government? Do you think people should have the right to choose their own profession? Do you think people should have the right to choose their own religion? And do you think people should have the right to choose their own spouse? If you answered yes to all 4, congratulations. The vast majority of people in history did not say yes to these 4 questions. So ideologically, we are probably much closer than in any previous time in history. But the type of discourse that is being produced makes people feel as if the differences are enormous. We are, he suggests, far less divided than we are made to feel. The distance between us is real, but much of it is manufactured. And what holds us together in the end is not force at all, but something much closer to love. Caring for a great many people you will never meet, and being willing to sacrifice for them. That, Harari believes, is the bond that makes community possible at our scale. Not force, not fear, but love for the stranger. Now, Florence is going to give a sermon called Flourishing Together.
I want to begin by thanking Seth for his choice of such a beautiful Time for All Ages story, and his willingness to listen to a 2-hour, very dense conversation between Ezra Klein and Yuval Noah Harari, and then to thoughtfully choose the excerpts that you just heard in the reading. It is a true joy for me as a speaker to collaborate in this way. Thank you, Seth. This June, as Seth mentioned at the beginning of the service, the Soul Matters theme that we're working with is flourishing together. Each month, the National UU Soul Matters team creates a bouquet of wonderful quotes, music, stories, spiritual practices for UU congregations around the country. And each month, there's a theme, kind of like getting a bouquet of the month at your doorstep, only this is through email. Soul Matters materials are used in your monthly fellowship services, so some of you will be quite familiar with this idea. For June, someone on the team wrote this short reflection on the theme flourishing together that really touched me. A theme like flourishing carries the connotation of blooming, as if this month is solely about helping each other blossom brightly into the fullness of all that we can be. But maybe it's also about softening, about waking up to the reality that our culturally encouraged pursuits of independence haven't made us safe. They've made us brittle. Maybe what this month wants most for us is a retrieval of tenderness. So that is what I will be talking about today, tenderness, and how to nurture and keep tenderness alive in a world that seems increasingly cruel. Understanding that each human being deserves the chance to blossom, to flourish. All of us, no matter who we are or where we are. And the reason that I got excited about the Ezra Klein interview with Yuval Harari when thinking about the service and its theme was because Harari, an Israeli historian and writer, has written so powerfully about human cooperation. He began his career, somewhat surprisingly, as a military historian with catchy titles like Special Operations in the Age of Chivalry, 1100 to 1550, and Battlefield Revelations in the Making of Modern War Culture, 1450 to 2000. But Harari is also a gay man, and by the way, happy Pride Month. A vegan, an atheist, a student of Buddhist meditation, and an avowed liberal who has spoken out strongly against Netanyahu, despite being Israeli. He and his husband had to marry in Canada, since to this day, no recognized religious institutions in Israel will perform gay marriages. In 2014, his book on the history of humanity, small subject, Sapiens, was released in English and became a bestseller, and it's now been translated into 45 different languages. The book and much of Harari's thinking focuses on the role of cooperation in human evolution and history, and a refutation of the old nature read in tooth and claw way of understanding human beings in the world. Needless to say, he is reviled by the far right for many reasons. We need to hear this message. We need to hear this, especially now when a cage fighting arena has been erected on the lawn of the People's White House. And far right leaders around the world try to convince everyone that force and power are the only things that matter, the only things that are real, and that liberal beliefs in human rights, diversity, and equality are simply dangerous and silly hogwash. We, as Unitarian Universalists, hold a great diversity of theological beliefs, but fundamentally, what holds us together are our shared liberal ideals. Liberal in the sense that Harari describes, that we believe in the dignity and self-determination of all people, democracy, even in how we govern ourselves, the value, the beauty of diversity, and the centrality of love. This has been true of us since the 19th century. As UUs, we truly understand that flourishing together might start with the people close to us, our families, our neighbors, our UU congregation, look around at each other. But it doesn't stop there. For us to really flourish, truly flourish, our commitment to flourishing together must extend across the whole world, to the human and the non-human, to the stranger, to the immigrant, to all. But as I talk with people week in and week out who are struggling with the question of whether it's even possible to keep our hearts open under the weight of all that is happening, that strikes at all we believe about morality, ethics, goodness, I hear some things. Maybe I should stop reading or looking at the news. Someone wonders aloud. Maybe I should just focus on my gardening or my spiritual practices or travel or enjoying my retirement. Maybe it's just too much. And for my mental health, because I feel so powerless, I can't make a difference. This is precisely how they want us to feel and to act or not act. What I would like to suggest today is that it is critical that we resist these urges to turn inward, to take care of just the people around us, the people we like, to focus on individual flourishing while forgetting that to truly flourish individually, we do need to flourish together. And that together means all of us, this whole planet. And I know this is a very hard thing to ask in these times, and that the planet is a very big place. But if there's one spiritual aspiration that I believe is shared by all UUs pretty much everywhere, it's this one: to keep our hearts wide open and our hands engaged, no matter what, even and especially when it gets really, really hard. To that end, I want to do something a bit unusual today. I want to share a good portion of a recent essay written by a writer I follow and respect greatly, Frederick Joseph, a Black writer from Yonkers, New York. I'm always inspired by the love and vulnerability he brings to everything he writes, and I think to his life. I hope that it inspires you too this morning. Even the titles of some of Frederick Joseph's books touch my heart. Patriarchy Blues, Better Than We Found It, Conversations to Help Save the World, Planting Hope, and his upcoming book, Everything's Not Lost. Could there be a more appropriate title? A few weeks ago, he published an essay titled Against Indifference on Mutual Aid, Exhaustion, and Fighting to Keep One Another Here. I've been sharing it with everyone I know, so I want to share it with you today. He writes, I have to be honest, I've been struggling lately in the way I imagine many of you have been, which is to say, I have been waking each morning in unbearable mathematics of human suffering. Too many bodies beneath too much rubble. Too many people pushing their lives in shopping carts through cities that no longer know how to look them in the eye. Too many prayers sitting unanswered in hospital rooms, in shelters and eviction courts and subway stations at 3 in the morning. Some days it feels like the whole world is asking the human spirit to bench press grief until its arms give out. But I'm going to come back to that in a second because there's an update I need to provide you. For the 8th year in a row, we organized our Women's History Month mutual aid effort to support women living in shelters. And before anything else, I want to thank everyone who donated, shared the fundraiser, or simply allowed themselves to care in a time that increasingly punishes people for feeling too much. When the fundraiser ended, I found myself sitting with a sadness I could not immediately explain. Not because people failed to show up. People did show up generously, tenderly. I think what saddened me was not simply that the need was large. I've known the need was large for years. I've understood this sort of need since I was a boy, watching my mother boil water on the stove so I could have a warm bath. I think what saddened me was realizing how quickly suffering absorbs generosity in this country. You open your phone and watch children carried from collapsed buildings overseas while commentators debate whether their deaths are politically inconvenient. You walk through New York City and pass men sleeping beneath scaffolding while luxury towers rise above them like monuments erected to worship of indifference. You see a woman on the subway carrying everything she owns in garbage bags, stopping every few minutes to readjust the weight of them on her shoulder, as though personhood itself has become something physically heavy to carry in this country. You stand in line at a pharmacy and overhear someone quietly asking what prescription they can afford to leave behind. And after a while, if you are not careful, the sheer volume of suffering begins to alter your relationship to feeling. I think many people are living with this now. Not hopelessness exactly, something perhaps more dangerous, a slow emotional starvation. We are witnessing so much catastrophe at once that people are beginning to lose faith in the usefulness of tenderness. Climate collapse, fascism, loneliness, war, poverty, economic terror, spiritual exhaustion. Human suffering arrives now in such relentless quantities that many people unconsciously started training themselves not to feel too deeply, because to feel everything would shatter them. There are days lately when I feel this happening inside myself. There are days when I walk home through this city and feel something in me trying to retreat from the world emotionally, because remaining open to this much pain begins to feel unbearable after a while. I think that is the part people rarely confess publicly. Caring hurts. Paying attention hurts. Which is why I understand exactly why people choose numbness. Numbness can feel like survival, but I also think numbness is what these systems are counting on. Cruel societies do not survive merely because of wealth or violence. They survive because ordinary people eventually begin believing another person's suffering is not their concern. They survive because exhaustion convinces people that empathy is not needed. They survive because human beings become so overwhelmed by the scale of pain surrounding them that they stop believing small acts of care matter at all. And yet, if you look honestly at how most people survive difficult periods in their lives, it is almost never institutions that save them first. It is another person. I think often now about what this era is doing to human spirit. We are living in a culture that rewards detachment because detachment is profitable. Everything encourages us not to look too closely, not to feel too deeply, not to become too burdened by the suffering of strangers. Human beings are increasingly taught to experience tragedy as spectators instead of participants in one another's lives. And once suffering becomes ordinary enough, once abandonment begins feeling natural enough, almost any cruelty becomes possible. That frightens me more than the cruelty itself sometimes. Because I think the greatest crisis facing this country is no longer merely political. I think it is a crisis of feeling, a crisis of imagination, a crisis of responsibility. We are losing the ability to believe we belong to one another. I do believe there is something sacred in refusing to surrender entirely to indifference. I believe there is something radical in deciding another person's suffering is your concern, even when the world insists it should not. I believe there is something profoundly human in trying to lessen the burden another person carries through this life, even slightly. Maybe that is what I have been trying to build all these years, a reminder that people do not survive alone, a reminder that consciousness without tenderness eventually curdles into performance, a reminder that love is not merely feeling, but a form of labor, form of protection, sometimes even a form of resistance. Because when it's all said and done, I think the question is, ultimately, what kind of people do we allow suffering to turn us into? Well, thank you for letting me share with you this fairly long piece. It's most of it, not quite all of it, but I really wanted to share it. And I'll leave you with that question today, as you use, as liberals, suffering as we witness all the cruelty. What will we become? Will we let love as labor, protection, and resistance shape how we will be, even when it gets hard? Can tenderness and care grow even in the rubble? I believe it can. I believe in us, or I wouldn't be speaking to you today. Stay strong, my friends. Stay strong. And as Kurt Vonnegut used to remind us, a little humor can help too. In that spirit, Patrick will be sharing a song to lift your heart today. Another small way to encourage flourishing around you.
Once with a messy lawn. It's May. Romo may deserve the song. And it's kind of easy to hear this come around. No. If you start to pick up on it, then he's joking. On this flourishing, flowering, awesome. Where the bee blossoms in the trees, all of no people it may. There's gratitude in every eye of every moth and butterfly during no day. But those uppity neighbors might think we're slacking in our labor when they see a few dandelions growing in our. But when they see pollinators pollinate and helping plants to procreate, I hope they figure out what's going on. And how about the honeybees? Let the grass grow free. No. Your lawn would like to say, lawnmower, why don't you go away? To know, baby. Your lawn would like to know, it wants to be left alone. No, baby. But those uppity neighbors might think you're slacking in your labor when they see the jungle that used to be yours. But when they see all the birds do nectar suction, helping plants and reproduction, they figure it out. They sing along to help out the honeybee. Let the grass but no mom. What do you say? Just let your grass for the mama who prays, who prays. It's the 1st of May. No more May.
No more May.
Stop.
This is the time in our service where we pause to recognize the shared community commitment that keeps this congregation vibrant and alive. True exists because of the generosity of spirit, time, and resources offered by those who believe in what we're creating together. If you feel moved to support the work of this community within these walls and beyond, you're warmly invited to give as you are able. You can make a donation online at true.org by clicking give at the top of the homepage or by clicking on the QR code in your order of service. If you're with us in person, you may also contribute using the offering plate as it is passed. And if you're a guest today, feel free to enjoy our hospitality without a sense of financial obligation. However you choose to give for your values, your energy, kindness, or your financial gift, we are deeply grateful.
And from this we live, from you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
Nicely done. Patrick's first time with that one. And now, please join for our closing hymn, number 354. We laugh, we cry. Number 354 in grade.
If there's no objection, we'll plan on the first.
Yeah. Liza's gonna lead us, our song master.
254, please. Yeah.
That's wasted our song. We need to hear there's something in the words say no belong. We need to feel the freedom just to pass some time alone. Oh, so long we need us without the very young. And we may and it was striking down. And we are together. We have lost to give. We have lost to receive. And we believe that we is enough.
A child is born among us, we feel a special. We see the timeless journey as we watch the baby grow. We feel so near and completely running wild. We dedicate our hearts and hearts to the spirit of this time, and we believe life and in the strength of love, and we are fine together. We share the one of you, and we believe that we is enough.
The words of our chalice extinguishing are by Elizabeth Selly Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fires of commitment. These we carry in our hearts till we are together again. And now Florence has a final benediction for us and closing words.
I would like to close with these few words by the essay you heard from Frederick Joseph. I do believe there is something sacred in refusing to surrender to indifference. I believe there is something radical in deciding another's person's suffering is your concern, even when the world insists it should not be. I believe there is something profoundly human in trying to lessen the burden another person carries through this life. As we go out into this June afternoon, this is my prayer. May tenderness flourish. May we all commit, recommit, keep committing to flourishing together.
And with that, please rise and join hands for the singing of our sending forth song, One World Home by Jimmy Byrne.
All the joys and the griefs, the colors and the lilies, the light shines upon us all the same. Open eyes, loving hearts, open hands, it's a start. One world home, one world home, one world home. Open eyes, loving hearts, open hands, it's a start. One world home, one world home, one world home. One world home, one world home, one world home.
There's going to be a social justice meeting at 11:25 in the Troop. Anybody wants to join us?
And we have a circle supper coming up on the Juneteenth, with Mike. So, look in your bulletins.
Thank you.
Who's that? Hello, on it.
There I am.
Nice seeing the audience. It was nice to see the audience. Andrew, if you can hear me. Andrew, can you hear me? Andrew? Andrew, can you hear me?
I'm just barely hearing you. I'm gonna try putting on my headset here. Maybe I'll
There
be
you
able to
go.
hear better if I
Now
can
I can
figure
hear
out how to
you.
turn on these things here. Yeah, these things are connected, but now Asia, can you speak to me again, please?
Hi. Can you
Oh,
hear me?
I don't know what's happened.
That's okay. Can you hear me, Mary?
Yeah, I can hear you
Yeah,
fine.
I don't really know what's happening.
I couldn't hear any of the music from the piano or the guitar.
That's
I,
true. The music
I
wasn't.
sent I sent them notes, but they weren't reading them. So
Yeah. Well, maybe they'll fix that. It's all new for them, so
oh
that.
yeah, I know it's a panic situation for them. I wouldn't want to be trying it. Hey, I like your
But I'm
heart.
glad that it's. I'm glad that we were able to join in.
Yeah, it's nice. I have a friend who's coming to visit today, and she likes hearts. She would
Oh,
like your shirt.
I do glass work and I make a lot of glass hearts. So
Oh, you
that's
do?
I
Where
do.
do you live? Where do you live?
Well, I used to live in Carbondale, and right now I'm in the Seattle area because my father
Oh,
memory care here, and I actually just spent the last few days with Florence, so that was really fun
Oh,
to get
wow.
to see her sermon,
Oh,
especially retired.
oh, that's so nice. Now, can you all hear me now?
yeah,
Okay, good. Um,
yeah.
okay, good. Well, we don't get to touch her or smell her, but how's she doing?
She's doing great. Yeah, she lives in a
Good,
beautiful
good.
location, and we did a 6 mile hike to one of her favorite places, and yeah, we had a really great time. It was lovely.
In which part are you in exactly, Aisha?
I'm in the Seattle area, and
Oh, good.
she's over in Port Angeles, which is a lot closer if you were a bird, but it
Right.
takes almost 3 hours to get there from here.
Did you met over there, did you?
No, I used to live in Carbondale.
I mean, did you meet with
Oh,
Florence in her neighborhood?
I did. I spent 3 nights in her home. Yeah, it was great.
Oh, great. How do you say your name?
Asha?
Asha. Okay. Right. Yeah, my brother lives on Whidbey Island.
Oh, okay.
So I've taken the ferry over to Port Townsend a lot
Okay.
from from Keystone Ferry, which is about halfway up the island or a third of the way.
Yeah, she's still an hour further from, I think, about from Port Townsend. So,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
she's even
Oh,
further
thank
in.
you. Very good. Good to see you again. Dan? Yeah. Um, good. I'm gonna say hello to somebody who's here.
Okay.
My wife and I have been here lots of times.
I remember meeting you at
Yeah. Okay, I'll let you keep up with the Zoom on. You're thinking of becoming members, so.
Yeah, well, I started.
We get it plugged in.
Andrew, before we all break up, I wanted to mention that,
Let's make sure he can hear you. Can you hear him?
yeah,
I
don't.
can, thank you. I'm hearing you very well now. I turned up my system speakers and I'm using these so the noise in the background doesn't bother me.
Okay, good. We never got any of the sound from the piano or the guitar. And anytime anybody sang, it was all broken up. So I don't know what you need to consider there.
Yeah, I think what I need to do is turn on original sound for musicians, which I don't think I ever did, but that's good to know. Now, did you hear and understand Seth Williams?
Yeah, he was fine.
And how about Florence? Pretty
She
good.
was okay, but she was a funny color. She was orange and gold instead of her normal color.
Right. Well, I had to make that choice whether to share my screen and play the video separately, which would be nicer. I think. I just was afraid that I would fumble around too much and you would lose part of the service because I wasn't able to seamlessly. But I'll try that. We're going to have live next week. We'll have live music, and I hope that we can continue providing this service on Zoom every week. But I don't know because Liza and I are going to be away.
Yeah, I understand. That's okay. We would understand that.
Uh-huh.
All righty,
Okay.
bud. Well, I'm going to leave you. I got company coming for several weeks, and I need to get a little more organized. No.
Okay,
Please
good to
stay
see you.
close. Please say goodbye, Mary. I'm gonna leave too, but if you could say hello
Okay.
to Seth and Ayana for me, I would love that.
Asha, I will. I
Okay,
will.
great.
I'll tell him right now, Asha.
Okay, that sounds great.
Great. Thank you. Hope
All
to
right.
see you again
Take care.
soon. Take care
Bye.
of your father. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.